My twin sister killed me because she could not bear to watch me succeed. 28. I had become one of the most popular young actresses in the country. G. Meanwhile, had spent years waiting for the billionaire Song family to collapse, convinced that the life they gave her had been a mistake. When she realized I was still standing, while everything she wanted had slipped away, jealousy finally destroyed what remained of her reason. On the rooftop, she shoved me over the edge. I fell. I caught the hem of her clothes and dragged her down with me. I thought that was the end of both our lives. Then, I opened my eyes and found myself 8 years old again, sitting outside the orphanage director's office beside the same sister who had just murdered me. She kept twisting her fingers in her lap, muttering so softly that no one else should have been able to hear. Song family will go bankrupt sooner or later. I absolutely can't go with them this time. I have to enter show business, become a superstar, and earn 5 million yuan a day. That was when I understood the truth. I was not the only one who had been reborn. My sister had returned too. In our previous life, her gentle face and obedient manner had won over the wealthy Song couple, so they adopted her first. Famous actor and actress chose me afterward. Sister believed she had entered a doomed family, while I had been handed a glamorous future. What she never understood was that the Song family's bankruptcy had been caused by her own betrayal. While the celebrity home she envied had been a private hell disguised by flashing cameras. The orphanage director's door opened. Before my sister could stand, I threw my arms around her and burst into tears. Sis, no matter who adopts us, I hope you'll always be my sister. Sir, please adopt her. I'm still little. I can endure hardship. She froze against me. I knew the Song couple had no resistance to children who seemed kind and selfless. Moved by what they believed was my willingness to sacrifice myself, they changed their decision and chose me instead. Under my sister's stunned gaze, I kept crying, held her hand as though I could not bear to let go, and reluctantly climbed into the Song family's luxury car. Every tear was part of the performance. This time, I was taking the home she had thrown away, and I was leaving her the life she had once stolen from me. The car had barely begun to move when a Porsche pulled up outside the orphanage. The people who stepped out were Zhao Jingsheng and Lin Qingxiang, the award-winning actor and actress who had adopted me in my previous life. Reporters crowded around them, and camera flashes lit up the entrance as they smiled for the media. Through the rear window, I watched the director lead my sister toward them. Excitement spread across her face. She believed she had finally seized the brilliant future that belonged to me. I lowered my eyes and hid a cold smile. Sister, you thought you were climbing into heaven. You had no idea you were walking into the same house that had turned my childhood into hell. In my previous life, I had been dazzled when they first took me home. The mansion, the designer clothes, and the endless camera flashes looked like proof that my life had changed for the better. It did not take long for me to understand that I had not entered heaven at all. I had been delivered into hell. My adoptive mother, Lin Qingxiang, was determined never to have a child because she feared pregnancy would ruin her figure. At the time, public opinion strongly condemned surrogacy, so she did not dare go abroad to arrange it. She and her husband, Zhao Jingsheng, discussed the matter and decided to adopt a child from an orphanage instead. I was 8 years old that year. Whenever they attended parties or entertained guests, they took me with them. First, I was delighted. I thought my adoptive parents loved me so much that they wanted me beside them wherever they went. But when drunken men with indecent eyes deliberately touched me and staggered toward me reeking of alcohol, I burst into frightened tears. I turned to my adoptive parents for help, but Lin Qingxiang only glared at me viciously and forbade me from crying. She forced me to call those men my godfathers, smile when they approached, and flatter them no matter how frightened I felt. My adoptive parents also forced me to learn every possible skill, from piano to dance. Whenever I failed to satisfy them in the slightest, they punished me in cruel and insidious ways. Beneath Lin Qingxiang's beautiful, polished exterior was a frighteningly twisted face. On countless nights, when Zhao Jingsheng went out to fool around with other women, she would become like a madwoman, cornering me against the wall, cursing me viciously, then secretly pinching me hard to vent her anger. Every time Zhao Jingsheng came home, the two of them would begin arguing before they had exchanged more than a few words. Sometimes, they even struck each other and smashed everything in the house. All I could do was hide in a dark room, trembling as I curled up in a corner, longing for the poor but peaceful life I had once known. As I grew older in that hellish home, I became extraordinarily beautiful. In their words, I had been born with a face meant to seduce people. They used me in exchange for resources, forcing me to serve powerful figures in the industry. Then, late one night, my adoptive father Zhao Jingsheng barged into my room, behaved in a deeply inappropriate way, and uttered the most nauseating words I had ever heard. Nuan, let daddy love you in a special way. Even remembering that night made disgust crawl through every part of me. That was why I had changed the adoption choice before either of them could place a hand on me again. I looked back at my sister, who was cooperating with that demonic couple as they performed the image of a happy family of 3 for the cameras. I withdrew my gaze. My adoptive mother in this life, Ni Xiangyi, was gently holding my hand. Her palm was warm. Wen, are you sad to leave your sister? If you miss her in the future, Mom will take you to visit her. I smiled at Ni Xiangyi. Thank you, Mom. She tightened her hold on my hand. For the first time in either life, I understood what a real family was supposed to feel like. While I was learning how it felt to be protected, my sister was beginning to discover the true price of the life she had chosen. They registered me in the household, changed my name to Song Nuan, and carefully asked how I wanted my room decorated and what foods I liked. At the same point in my previous life, I had been hiding in a dark corner, listening to that demonic couple fight. They treated me like a puppet, making me perform for cameras to attract views and entertain terrible people. Now, I was lying in my mother's arms, finally allowed to be an ordinary child. Afraid that I would miss my sister, Ni Xiangyi often followed news about her. Whenever she found videos or photographs, she showed them to me. In the newspapers, my sister looked like a little princess. Her chin was slightly raised, and she carried herself with an arrogance that did not resemble a child at all. I could not tell how much of the truth she had already discovered, but I knew she was still enduring everything for the day she believed she would become a great star. For that imagined future, she would grit her teeth and endure almost anything. I grew up happily in the Song family, and in the blink of an eye, I was 9 years old. One day, my parents called me into the study. Both of them looked unusually serious. My mother asked, Nuan, if I gave you a younger sister or brother, would you be all right with that? My eyes instinctively dropped to her stomach. Since she had asked, she must already have good news. In my previous life, my sister had wanted all our adoptive parents' love and the entire Song family fortune for herself. From the time she was very young, she had secretly slipped birth control pills into Ni Xiangyi's medicine every day. It left my mother infertile, and she died without ever having another child. I learned the truth only after the Song family went bankrupt and Song Jinshu and Ni Xiangyi passed away. My sister had lost everything by then. She came to me in a frenzy and revealed it all. I'm the one who ruined that woman Ni Xiangyi's womb and made sure she could never give birth. Nuan, don't worry. As long as I'm here, your adoptive mother will never have a child. In the future, the entire Song fortune will belong to you. She had assumed I was just like her, and cared only about money. I lifted my gaze from my mother's stomach, looked at her and then at my father, and nodded happily. Of course I agree. Both, my parents visibly relaxed. They had gone to the orphanage because they had been unable to have a child for years. Now that my mother was pregnant, they were afraid I might feel hurt or overthink things. So they had cautiously asked for my opinion. My mother pulled me into her arms. Nguyen, you are our family's lucky star. Thank you for letting me be your mother. Her stomach grew larger by the day, and our whole family eagerly awaited the baby's birth. Meanwhile, news about my sister continued to appear in the papers. We were identical twins, so her face looked exactly like mine had at that age, but she always wore a camera-ready smile. Her personal social media account had already surpassed 2 million followers. Every day, she showed off the luxury items her parents bought for her. Everyone envied her good fortune in meeting famous, wealthy parents like Zhao Jingsheng and Lin Qingxiang. People said that although she had not been born at the finish line, her adoptive parents had carried her straight there. What extraordinary luck. But I could see the brilliant light in her eyes, slowly fading. Her smile became increasingly artificial. Though she was still so young, she had to wear heavy makeup and layers of thick foundation. Sometimes, even in the scorching summer heat, she wore long sleeves. It was all to conceal the frightening marks on her body. Sister had wanted a life admired by millions. To protect that dream, she was willing to hide every bruise and keep smiling for the cameras. My life was the complete opposite. My parents never pushed me in front of camera flashes. It was not because they refused to acknowledge me, but because they wanted to protect my safety. I continued to enjoy a carefree childhood. Several months later, my mother gave birth to a baby girl. That afterward, my parents treated me even better than before. I knew they did not want me to feel neglected. Every day after school, once I finished my homework, I eagerly ran off to play with my little sister. I gently held her tiny hand. In this life I would protect my younger sister, my parents, and this family. As for my older sister, and the demonic couple she had chosen, there was no need to hurry. Time would bring us together again. When it did, every debt from my previous life would be waiting for them. For years, my sister and I lived like two parallel lines. I grew up protected by the Song family, while she was polished, displayed, and controlled by the Zhao couple. But the moment university began, those lines finally crossed again. The second act of our shared life opened in the most convenient place possible. We entered the same academy and were assigned to the same dormitory room on the very first day. My parents knew I loved the arts. At first, they had hoped I would study business administration and eventually inherit the family enterprise. But they respected my interests and allowed me to apply to the Academy of Media and Communications. Your surname is Song now, and mine is Zhao. We're no longer family. From now on, let's treat each other as strangers. I don't want people saying I'm flattering and clinging to the billionaire family's precious daughter. Those were the first words my sister said when she saw me. I knew she was afraid. She feared that after the Song family went bankrupt, I would use the same ruthless methods she had used against me in our previous life. People who spend their lives scheming always assume everyone else is scheming too. He nodded. Fine. Even now, she still did not know that in our previous life, the Song family would never have gone bankrupt if not for her greed. She had secretly stolen confidential company documents and sold them for money, then committed acts that sent the company's stock price plunging. When Song Jinshu and Mrs. Yangyi discovered her betrayal, they still could not bear to send their adopted daughter to prison. But she lived in constant fear that they would expose her one day. So she did not hesitate to take both their lives. I studied the thick foundation on her face. No matter how sophisticated her makeup was, or how carefully she concealed herself, I could still see the exhaustion buried deep in her eyes. There was no light in them. They were as empty as a dry well. At this point, in my previous life, I was rarely beaten anymore. By then, I possessed countless talents, and was praised as the model second-generation celebrity child. I brought Zhao Jingsheng and Lin Qingxiang enormous prestige. They still depended on me to earn money and secure resources. So naturally, they had begun treating me more carefully. Zhao Jingsheng was even less willing to strike me. The way he looked at me no longer concealed his filthy intentions, or that sickening, improper desire. And my sister, Zi, had no artistic talent whatsoever. Zhao Jingsheng had to donate an entire building before the academy made an exception and admitted her. She had posted countless short clips of herself dancing, playing instruments, and painting. But the only honest response to them was speechlessness. No amount of money could give her talent she did not possess. But vain and greedy people, like Zhao Jingsheng and Lin Qingxiang, would never easily abandon their plan to turn her into a money tree. Even if they had to pour money into her, they would force her to succeed. I did not need anyone to explain what she had endured. I knew that house, and I knew the people inside it. I did not even need to investigate. I understood the nature of that demonic couple far too well. Seeing how readily I agreed to treat her as a stranger, my sister sneered. Looks like I don't need to say much. You're the precious daughter of a billionaire now. Of course you look down on an older sister like me, she assured. She left, carrying expensive designer goods to other dorm rooms, and handing them out as gifts to win people over. Although the academy was filled with children from wealthy families, that only made its social hierarchy more obvious. Students from weaker backgrounds quickly became my sister's followers. I, meanwhile, had never revealed my family background. My clothes and belongings were plain and understated in their eyes. That made me a member of the lower class. The other two girls in our room even whispered among themselves. Zhang Nuan and Zhao Yu really do look alike. But one is the daughter of two celebrities, while the other is just from an ordinary family. Same face, completely different fate. My sister was delighted to hear it. I knew she was counting the days until the Song family went bankrupt, waiting for me to become truly poor and lowly, so she could humiliate and trample me as much as she pleased. Cruelty came naturally to her. See. That evening, while she was showering, I deliberately pretended to forget and opened the bathroom door. Expected, I saw her body covered in overlapping bruises, blue, purple, and red. Oh, sorry, I forgot someone was inside. I drew in a sharp breath, then deliberately asked loudly, "What happened to your body?" She snatched up a bath towel and hurled it at my head. "Get out." Panic flashed across her face. Someone as proud as my sister could not bear the thought that I had seen what her glamorous life really looked like. I lowered the towel, turned away, and let the corner of my mouth lift. Zhao Jingsheng and Lin Qingxiang had behaved exactly as I knew they would. She quickly dressed and came out, standing over me as I sat in a chair. "You two, leave first." She was speaking to our roommates. Once they had gone, she narrowed her eyes and warned me dangerously. "Song Nuan, you are not to tell anyone what you just saw. If I hear even a rumor whether you started it or not, I'll hold you responsible." "I won't tell anyone." Smiled, deliberately provoking her. "But you're always threatening to settle accounts with me. No matter how powerful your parents are, they're still only people in the entertainment industry." Her expression twisted. Then, as though she had remembered something, smugness returned to her face. "The Song family is about to go bankrupt." I raised an eyebrow. "Is that so?" "Don't tell me you don't believe it." She looked at me mockingly. "Song Nuan, since we were once sisters, I'll kindly warn you. You should start thinking about how you're going to save yourself. Then, thank you for the warning. I'll keep my eyes open and see exactly when my family goes bankrupt." She looked at me as though I were a fool. What she did not know was that my confidence came from being someone who had already lived through the story and knew every turn of the script. Song Nuan, you'd better drop out now. When your family goes bankrupt and can't even pay your tuition, you'll become everyone's joke. Haven't you heard that studying the arts is like feeding money into a furnace? And with someone like you, she swept her gaze over me from head to toe. When the time comes, you'll have no money and no one backing you. No company will be willing to sign you. The entertainment industry isn't what it used to be. These days it belongs to rich young heirs and heiresses. But she was saying all of that far too soon. Whether my family went bankrupt was not something her words could decide. In our previous life, she had seen me in the news every day. Her jealousy flared when she read an interview in which I said I wanted to apply to the Media Academy. So she followed me and applied as well. Back then, however, no company had been willing to sign her. In this life, she believed that with powerful parents like Zhao Jingsheng and Lin Qingxiang, she could command the entire entertainment industry. I decided to provoke her a little more. Oh right, I heard your father's scandal has been causing quite an uproar lately. The moment I finished speaking, her face darkened. Ever since Zhao Jingsheng entered show business, he had been surrounded by romantic scandals. Even after marriage, he never bothered to restrain himself. I knew Lin Qingxiang had loved him deeply at first. But not long after their wedding, Zhao Jingsheng began keeping women outside the marriage. It was his betrayal that gradually drove Lin Qingxiang mad. This time, the rumors surrounding him were even more explosive. News had broken that he had an illegitimate child. Nothing mattered more to my sister than preventing her adoptive parents from having a biological child. The biological heir meant she could no longer monopolize all their assets. In my previous life, Lin Qingxiang refused to have a baby because she feared losing her figure. But in this life, I had heard that Zhao Jingsheng had fathered a child elsewhere. Things were becoming more interesting by the day. I watched my sister's ugly expression with quiet satisfaction. This was only the beginning. The most important part of the story had not even begun. I turned and walked away. Behind me, I heard her voice, thick with hatred. Zhao Jingsheng, that disgusting man, has ruined my entire plan. It seemed the rumors were true. After military training ended, I signed up to perform at the freshman welcome gala. Sister, naturally registered too. How could she possibly miss a chance to show off? That day, my parents and my little sister, Wan, came to watch. They sat in an inconspicuous corner near the entrance. My mother sent me a voice message through WeChat. When I opened it, Wan's sweet voice played through my phone. Big sister, you can do it. I could not hide my smile. I had just changed into my costume and stepped out when I ran into my sister. She was wearing a dance outfit almost identical to mine and carried herself with her usual arrogant superiority. Frowning hard, she demanded, Song Nuan, what are you performing? I smiled and asked in return, didn't you read the program? She always believed herself to be the center of the world and loved stealing the spotlight. Throughout military training, she had paid attention to nothing else. Whenever she had free time, she practiced her dance, never caring what anyone else planned to perform. She assumed her own act would be the best. Now that she saw me in a similar costume, she vaguely realized something was wrong. Irritation showed clearly on her face. She immediately took out her phone and checked the program list. Folk dance. She clenched her phone and strode toward me. Song Nuan, you did this on purpose, didn't you? I put on an innocent expression. Did what? Other people began looking our way. She gritted her teeth and glared at me. But the moment she turned around, she called out with delight. Mom, Dad, you're here. My body stiffened slightly. I slowly turned my head and saw Zhao Jingsheng and Lin Qingxiang, my adoptive parents from my previous life. Memories rolled through my mind like a film in slow motion, replaying everything they had done to me. I could almost feel Zhao Jingsheng's filthy hand again. That night, if I had not smashed a desk lamp against his head, and if Lin Qingxiang had not caused a scene, he truly would have violated me. After Lin Qingxiang learned of her husband's dark intentions toward me, she punished me in the most terrifying ways. I nearly lost half my life that time. But that belonged to my previous life. I drew a deep breath and struggled to steady my emotions. My sister deliberately acted extremely affectionate with Zhao Jingsheng and Lin Qingxiang in front of me. Dad, you're so good to me, you're both so busy, but you still made time to come watch me perform. Lin Qingxiang raised a hand and stroked my sister's head. But I could clearly see my sister's body trembling in waves. She had no idea that my parents had also brought little Wanwan. So she continued forcing herself through this performance. Her only goal was to show me how happy she supposedly was. Mom, Dad, go take your seats, wait, and watch my performance. After she escorted Zhao Jingsheng and Lin Qingxiang out, she turned back toward me. She gave me an extremely smug smile. She had used a few tricks to move her performance, so it would come immediately before mine. Her turn arrived. Brimming with confidence, she stepped onto the stage. I had already investigated, just as they had done to me in my previous life. The demonic couple had forced her to learn every kind of skill, and folk dance was one of them. Watching from backstage, I saw that she could perform a few basic movements. But her arms and legs were stiff, and her rhythm was a complete mess. The only part of the performance deserving a perfect score was her confidence. Zhao Jingsheng and Lin Qingxiang were seated in the center of the second row. One look at their eyes told me they were deeply disappointed by her performance. Sister, however, was clearly very pleased with herself. When she came off stage, she even gave me a provocative look. I don't know who arranged the program, putting two folk dances right next to each other. Song Nuan, you'd better perform well. Of course. I'll make sure I do. In this life I had never studied folk dance, and my sister knew it. She was waiting to watch me embarrass myself in front of everyone. Unfortunately, I was going to disappoint her. In my previous life, I had entered countless dance competitions and won national championship after national championship. My dance ended. Thunderous applause erupted from the audience. Zhao Jingsheng and Lin Qingxiang stared at me without blinking. The moment I returned backstage, several people crowded around me. Song Nuan, you danced beautifully. How many years have you studied? I smiled and gave a vague answer, then looked toward my sister. I immediately met her razor-sharp, hateful gaze. She dragged me into an empty corner. Didn't you say you'd never learn dance? I love seeing her so furious she could practically stamp her feet. So, by saying that, are you admitting I danced better than you? At that moment, whispers drifted over from nearby. Zhao Yu really didn't inherit a single artistic cell from Zhao Jingsheng or Lin Qingxiang. She's adopted, not their biological daughter. How could she inherit anything? She danced as stiffly as a wooden toy. I can't believe she had the nerve to go on stage. Did you see her parents' expressions in the audience? They were incredible. My sister listened. The last trace of color drained from her face. She seemed to realize something, and panic and terror filled her eyes. No, it can't be like this. She finally lost control. Her face turned deathly pale, her features twisted, and she screamed at me. Songnuan, this is all your fault. If I have to, her panicked, agitated sentence broke off halfway. But I knew exactly what she had meant to say. If I have to suffer those punishments again tonight, it will all be because of you. But wait. Was this not the life she had longed for? Were these not the parents she had been obsessed with stealing? Looking at her frightened, dazed face, I wanted to say only one thing. The real show was still to come. Sister began trembling violently. She shoved me hard, then fled without looking back. I calmly changed back into my clothes and went down to the audience. When I glanced toward the center seats in the second row, Zhao Jingsheng and Lin Qingxiang had already left. My sister had walked straight back into the nightmare I escaped. Judging by the way the Zhao couple left, that nightmare was waiting for her again. That night, Zhao Jingsheng was trapped in the scandal over his illegitimate child. His public relations team had been unable to suppress the public outrage, which was why the couple had reluctantly come to watch my sister perform. Their plan was simple. If her dance created a sensation and received broad media coverage, the three of them could put on another warm, loving family performance for the press that might smooth over the illegitimate child scandal. But my sister was far too incompetent. Not only had she danced badly, but I had completely overshadowed her. This time, her adoptive parents would be bitterly disappointed. I went to find my family. Juan's eyes sparkled with laughter. Big sister, you danced so beautifully. Yours was the best performance. I gently pinched her nose. You haven't watched all the performances that come afterward. How do you know mine was the best? Juan tilted her little head. Because in my heart, big sister's performance will always be the best. My parents both laughed. My mother held one of my hands as we continued watching the gala, while Wan held the other. The feeling was indescribably wonderful. After seeing my parents and Wan off, I returned to the dormitory, but my sister was nowhere to be found. At around 11 that night, I received a video. I immediately put on my headphones and opened it. My sister's heart-wrenching screams and pleas pierced my ears. Mom, please forgive me. Please don't do it anymore. In the video, Lin Qingxiang was repeatedly inflicting an extremely cruel punishment on my sister. She writhed in pain on the floor. Zhao Jingsheng sat leisurely on the sofa smoking and watching the scene with cold indifference. It hurts, please stop. In truth, I did not need the sound. Just by watching, I understood exactly how terrifying the punishment was. In my previous life, when I first entered the Zhao household, that had been my reality, every day. Whenever they tortured me until I was exhausted, they simply abandoned me without a second thought. It was Xiaoyi, one of the household maids, who took pity on me and secretly treated my injuries. 2 years ago, I deliberately arranged a chance encounter with Xiaohui at a supermarket near the Zhao residence. In this life, she did not know me, but we got along surprisingly well. She complained about the way my sister made life difficult for the servants at home. That was how Xiaohui and I began working together. She would pass information about my sister to me, and I would pay her for it. By the time I achieved my goal, the money she accumulated would be enough for her to retire early. The video had been secretly recorded and sent to me by Xiaohui. This time, however, Xiaohui had not treated my sister's injuries. My sister had apparently managed to turn even the kindest person in that house against her. In the second half of the video, my sister lay crumpled on the floor. Only then did Zhao Jingsheng speak. You've beaten her into this state. What if outsiders find out? Lin Qingxiang hurled the object in her hand at him. Isn't this all your fault? You disgusting man. If you hadn't fathered that child outside, would this mess be so difficult to fix? Zhao Jingsheng roared, shut your mouth. Whose fault is it that your body can't give birth? So Lin Qingxiang had already begun considering having a child. But thanks to her wonderful adopted daughter, my sister, she would probably never have the chance to become a mother in this life, either. A full week passed before my sister returned to school. She still tried to present herself as a proud, radiant heiress. I deliberately asked, where have you been these past few days? Why didn't you come to class? Her face darkened slightly, but she immediately replaced the expression with pride. My parents took me to meet several directors. I'll be joining a film production soon. I looked at her with admiration. Your parents treat you so well. Her expression stiffened for a moment before she forced a smile. Until she could establish herself in the industry, she had no choice but to keep swallowing the pain and pretending everything was perfect. Besides, how could she possibly escape that couples control so easily. For now, they were merely giving her small benefits, so she would become a more obedient money-making tool later. Xiaohui had told me that Zhao Jingsheng had long since forced my sister to cross moral boundaries. I understood the twisted nature of that man all too well. He spoke of love, but he was in truth completely selfish. Otherwise, he would not have sat there watching Lin Qingxiang torment my sister to the edge of death, without lifting a hand to stop her. I gave her exactly the encouragement her vanity wanted to hear. With your parents' connections in the industry, your future is wide open. You don't even need to stay in school. Maybe one film will make you famous overnight. By then, your parents might have to rely on you instead. I shrugged and sighed. Unlike me, I still have to keep studying and wait to see whether any company or director notices me. Of course. What do you have that could possibly compare to me? My sister became even more smug. Then, she suddenly gave me a cold smile and probed. Life in the Song family hasn't been easy for you lately, has it? I let just enough panic flash across my face for her to catch it. Then quickly shook my head. Don't say nonsense. I'm doing perfectly well. Your family is practically bankrupt and you're still doing well. She walked away with her head held high. As expected, she no longer had any interest in studying. She began using her social media account to accept advertisements and even contacted directors on her own to audition for roles. I immediately hired people to follow her discreetly. Whenever she met a man, they took photographs, selected the images with the most misleading angles, and sent them to gossip outlets. Before long, the phrase Zhao Jingsheng's daughter Zhao Yu, suspected of secret romance, shot straight to the top of the trending searches. My sister's popularity soared overnight. She returned to the dormitory with her chin practically pointed at the sky. I'm famous now, and I've landed a role. This room is almost too small for me. Filming will start soon. I'll probably only attend classes for one more week. Our two roommates immediately crowded around her, with admiration. I'm so jealous of you, Yu. You're only a freshman, and you're already acting in a film. That's what happens when you're born into a celebrity family. If my sister had possessed a tail, it would have been raised all the way into the clouds. I let her enjoy the attention. The higher her confidence rose, the more painful the next fall would be. For me, I began studying books on business administration and prepared to enroll in extra courses during the winter and summer breaks. Although Wanwan was still young, she had already said she did not want to take over the company when she grew up. My parents explained that even if she changed her mind later, she was still far too young, and no one knew how many years they would have to wait. For that reason, they still hoped to hand the entire company to me, so that Wanwan could live a carefree life and do whatever she loved. I was willing to accept the responsibility. For my sister, everything unfolded exactly as I expected. The very next day, Zhao Jingsheng summoned her home. How did he punish her? I did not witness it personally, but I could easily imagine. A month later, she finally dragged herself back to school. The arrogant bearing of a spoiled heiress had vanished from her completely. Her entire body seemed shrunken with fear. Sometimes, merely having someone pass behind her made her jump. If anyone accidentally touched her, she screamed. When people asked what was wrong, she would slowly come back to herself and force a smile, insisting she was fine. But her bloodless face did not belong to someone who was fine. I knew Zhao Jingsheng had tormented her horribly. She turned to me. Did they treat you like this before too? How did you survive it? I gave her an innocent smile. What are you talking about? As though my answer had provoked her, she rushed at me and shouted, "Why is this happening? Why could you become a great star, while I can't? It can't be like this." She shook her head, then looked at me with desperate hope. Your family is about to go bankrupt, right? I made myself look even more confused. Why can't I understand anything you're saying? Our two roommates stared at her and whispered to each other. Has Zhao Yu gone crazy? I tilted my head toward them and smiled. Don't say that, my sister just isn't thinking clearly. In our previous life, by this point I had already become an extremely popular young actress. And it was also around this time that the Song family declared bankruptcy. Now, everything had been completely reversed, combined with the days of brutal punishment Zhao Jingsheng had inflicted on her. It would have been stranger if she had not lost control. She suddenly shoved me hard and ran outside. I followed at once. In her condition, what if something happened to her on the street? How could I possibly let her escape so easily? I hailed a taxi and followed her. To my surprise, she went straight to my home. Both my parents were there. They were stunned when Zhao Yu stormed inside. She looked wildly around the house, muttering nonsense. Why haven't you gone bankrupt yet? This is all fake, you must already be bankrupt. This is only a shell. When my mother saw me come in, she instinctively rushed forward to shield me. Nuan, why did you come home so suddenly? Go upstairs and hide first in case she hurts you. My father immediately called for someone to remove the mad intruder. I'll report you for tax evasion. My sister shouted. Right. My parents evaded taxes, so you must be doing it too. She spoke. She patted her clothes, searching for her phone. But it was nowhere to be found. After all, I had even paid her taxi fare outside. Wanwan returned from school, saw me and ran over happily. Big sister, you're home. My sister froze when she heard that. I hugged Wanwan and soothed her. Wanwan, don't be afraid. Sister tried to push her way forward. Who is that child? She stared at my mother with wild eyes. You gave birth. How? Is that possible? The night of the gala, she had been so focused on herself, and so desperate to gain her adoptive parents' attention, that she had never noticed my parents or little Wanwan. That moment, the security guards came in and dragged her away. Even after they had taken her far from the house, we could still hear her unwilling screams. Why did everything change? Why? My mother released me and asked, who was that girl? Why did she come to our home? I stroked Wanwan's head and answered, Mom, Dad, she's my biological older sister. You met her at the orphanage. Both my parents looked shocked. They sighed and reminded me, Nuan. We know the two of you are related by blood. But no matter what happens, you must protect yourself. Thank you. I know where the limits are. I could feel my parents' love in every moment. The next day, when I returned to school, I ran into her again. She looked much more normal, except that she no longer bothered concealing the hostility in her eyes. Song Nuan, don't celebrate too soon. I won't lose to you. In our previous life, she had indeed won. But in this life, I would make her lose so thoroughly that she would be stripped of everything. She still refused to believe that our destinies had completely reversed. I've registered for the Golden Deer Goddess selection. Do you dare compete against me? In our previous life, I had won the Golden Deer Goddess title. It was also the event that cemented my position at the very top of the industry. I sighed softly and answered in a gentle tone. If you want to compete, then I'll register too. When only the two of us remained in the room, I took her hand. Sis, I'll listen to whatever you say. Can you tell me what's really wrong? She violently flung my hand away. Who is your sister? There's no one else here. You're still my biological sister. How could I not worry when you've become like this? I sneered inwardly. When it came to acting, she was nowhere near my level. Sis, please tell me. Is someone bullying you? Are your adoptive parents treating you badly? Did they hurt you? She studied me suspiciously. You know something, don't you? That's all I know, is that you're my sister. No matter what happens, I want you to be safe. I pretended to wipe away tears and continued. If your adoptive parents mistreat you, you have to tell me. But please don't go to my home and cause trouble again. You even said you would report my parents for tax evasion. Just because your parents did, that doesn't mean mine did too. Why would you ever think of reporting your own adoptive parents? At those words, my sister's eyes suddenly lit up. She burst into laughter. Even without them, I can still create a place for myself in show business. I nodded thoughtfully. I was certain she had carved my suggestion deeply into her mind. The next morning, news that Zhao Jingsheng and Lin Qingxiang had evaded taxes exploded across the trending charts. They were swiftly blacklisted throughout the industry. I read the news but felt no satisfaction at all. That demonic couple deserved a far more miserable ending. I pulled my sister into an empty classroom. Sis, did you really report your adoptive parents? Something like this can be settled by paying the missing taxes. They may not even go to prison. But if they discover you were the one who reported them, they definitely won't let you go. I looked at her with eyes full of anxiety. Sis, I don't want anything to happen to you. They're the ones something should happen to. She nodded. Her unfocused gaze drifted into the distance, revealing cold cruelty. That's right, they are the ones who should disappear. A few days later, another shocking story swept across social media. Zhao Jingsheng and Lin Qingxiang had died in a fire. The match had been struck. My sister had done the rest herself. I was at the scene. When the firefighters carried them out, the flames had already destroyed everything. My body trembled involuntarily, and a surge of fierce exhilaration gradually spread through me. That my sister had been driven to the same estate of physical and emotional collapse as in our previous life. With only a few carefully chosen words to ignite her, she had become a sharpened blade. At last, the two people who had made my previous childhood a nightmare were gone. The case was still under investigation. I returned to school. My sister looked brighter and more refreshed than before. Song Nuan, I'm about to join a film crew. I've already completed the leave of absence paperwork. She approached me with a broad smile. Zhao Jingsheng and Lin Qingxiang evaded taxes, and then took their own lives. I'll officially announce that I'm severing all ties with them. I don't need parents like that. I nodded. Parents like that truly aren't worth keeping. But sis, did they really take their own lives? I deliberately sounded curious. Smile vanished from her face. The police are still investigating. They might call you in for questioning. You may not be able to join the film crew right away. Flash of guilt crossed her face, and she snapped. What are you trying to say? They killed themselves. But just as I had expected, the police kept her for questioning and prohibited her from leaving the area while she cooperated with the investigation. She panicked visibly. For several days, she did not even dare come to school. During the holiday break, I went home. The moment I stepped through the door, I was shocked to find my sister there. She was kneeling before my parents, tears streaming down her face. Mom, Dad, do you really not recognize me? I'm your true daughter. When my mother saw me, she hurried over and pulled me close. Nuan, her condition is extremely unstable. Perhaps we should take her to a hospital. Then my mother added, after all, she is your biological sister. But you are our daughter. Sister rushed over and forced herself between us. I'm the one you were supposed to adopt. May. In the previous life, I was the one you chose. You won't go bankrupt anymore. Right, everything has changed. It isn't like the previous life anymore. She seized both my shoulders. You know everything, don't you? You did all of this on purpose. Were you reborn too? Songnuan, you arranged all of this. It was you. I raised a hand and patted her soothingly. Sis, calm down. How did you become this frightened? For my sake, my parents arranged a room for her. I knew perfectly well that she had started the fire herself. But in her current unstable mental state, even if there were complete evidence, she would only be sent to a psychiatric treatment facility. I did not want her protected from the consequences by confusion or madness. I wanted her lucid enough to understand every loss, every closed door, and every step that carried her toward the life she had chosen. Early the next morning, I went to her room. Sis, come downstairs for breakfast. She startled awake and shot upright in bed. The police are here to arrest me. The police are here to arrest me. I hurried over to calm her. No, no, don't be afraid. I'll protect you. I smiled gently. Come on, let's go downstairs and eat. At the breakfast table, my parents repeatedly placed food in my bowl and Wanwan's. Sister watched the scene, and the flames of jealousy in her eyes burned even more fiercely. After the meal, she suddenly apologized to my parents. Uncle, Auntie, when I said your family would go bankrupt the other day, it was only a slip of the tongue. Please don't take it to heart. My parents remained polite. They smiled but said nothing more. She was unwilling to accept their indifference. I knew she now wanted to steal my parents back from me. Even after everything, her greed still had no limit. But she would inevitably suffer the consequences of that greed. I spent the entire holiday staying close to her. Gradually, she began to trust me. Nguyen, could you ask Uncle and Auntie to adopt me too? Then we sisters would never have to be separated again. She was completely lucid now, and her thinking was extremely sharp. I pretended to hesitate for a long time before finally saying, actually, I brought this up with Mom and Dad a long time ago. But they said. She grabbed my hand and demanded anxiously, what did they say? Tears filled my eyes. They said that having me and Wanwan as their two daughters was already more than enough. She shot to her feet, stared at me, and stormed out. I quietly followed her and saw her enter my mother's room. I stood outside the door and listened. Auntie, I truly love this family. I love you, Uncle, and little Wanwan too. Please let me become your daughter. I promise, I'll behave well. I'll be even more outstanding than Nguyen. The Golden Deer Goddess final is only a few days away, and I will definitely win. My mother remained silent for a moment. Only after I gave her a discreet signal of approval did she speak. All right. If you win the Golden Deer Goddess title, I'll accept you as my daughter. My sister immediately floated back into the clouds. When she walked out and saw me, her face was full of arrogance. I laughed. Sis, have you ever heard the saying that the higher you climb, the harder you fall? She did not care about anything I said. Only one desire filled her mind now. To win the Golden Deer Goddess title and enter the Song family openly and honorably. From that day on, she checked the vote count obsessively, often several times within a single hour. At first, she truly did hold first place. The two of us passed round after round and finally reached the final. Only she and I remained, and our votes stayed nearly tied. To heighten the suspense for viewers, the public voting board was locked during the final stage. From that point on, only the organizers could see how the numbers were changing. My sister was completely confident that she would win. What she did not know was that the program was merely using her to generate publicity. She was surrounded by negative news. Her adoptive parents had become entangled in legal trouble, and then died suddenly, in a shocking fire. How could the Golden Deer Goddess title possibly be awarded to someone like her? On the day the result was announced, my entire family came to the television station. My sister believed the Golden Deer title would give her my place in the Song family. I knew it would become the final public proof that she could never take what belonged to me, my sister, and I sat below the stage in magnificent gowns. She suddenly leaned close to my ear and whispered, Song Nguyen, Mom and Dad have already promised me. If I win Golden Deer Goddess, they'll adopt me. Why don't we make one more bet? Whoever wins gets to stay. Do you dare? For a moment, I wondered whether she had finally lost all sense of reality. No normal person would gamble her family on an award. But I was not there to reason with her. I was there to let her finish the path she had chosen. I curled my lips. A promise is a promise. The host's clear voice rang out. The most suspenseful moment has arrived. The winner of the Golden Deer Goddess title at the 26th Golden Deer Film Festival is. I glanced at my sister. Her chin was still raised, and she overflowed with confidence. During this period, her mental state had clearly improved a great deal. Song Nuan, congratulations. Amid a burst of applause, I rose, turned to bow to everyone, and confidently walked toward the stage. Impossible. My sister sprang to her feet. The cameras immediately swung toward her. Soft whispers rippled through the audience behind us. Several people rushed over and restrained her. But she once again fell into a violent state of agitation. The golden deer goddess title is mine. Mom and dad are mine. I'm the true eldest daughter of the Song family. Song Nuan. I won't forgive you. I'll make you pay. In the end, they covered her mouth and dragged her outside. I stepped onto the raised platform and smiled as I accepted the glory that belonged to me. This one thing would never change, whether in my previous life or this one. The police had never stopped investigating the fire that killed Zhao Jingsheng and Lin Qingxiang. At last, an anonymous source delivered the evidence they needed. A video that recorded the entire incident. Same time, my sister called and asked me to meet her on the rooftop of a commercial building. The address made my blood turn cold. It was the same place where she had killed me before, in my previous life. This was the exact place where she had pushed me to my death. Sure enough, whether in our previous life or this one, whenever she was cornered, she wanted to drag me down as her scapegoat. Just as before, the moment she saw me appear, her expression became wildly extreme. When, aren't you my good little sister? As long as you disappear, I can openly become the Song family's daughter again. And that brat Wanwan should never have existed in this world. I'll be the Song family's only daughter. My gaze gradually turned cold. She could do anything she wanted to me, but she was never allowed to touch Wanwan. I looked directly into her eyes and enunciated every word. You are not worthy of being my sister. I will always be Wanwan's sister. Then go down there. Her emotions exploded. And she was about to charge at me, when the police officers, who had been lying in ambush around us, rushed out. Hands up. Nobody move. Her face changed drastically. Startled, she tried to stop herself. But the abrupt movement made her legs stagger. She lost her balance and toppled backward into the open air. Even as she fell, she clawed desperately. Her bloodshot eyes filled with despair as she reached for me. I moved quickly aside, and her hand closed on nothing. In a hidden corner she had never noticed. My right ankle had long been secured to the sturdiest column on the rooftop. She had finally paid the price. There was no surviving a fall from that height. After giving my statement, I stepped out of the police station. The sky outside was vast and clear. I took out my phone and called Xiaohui. When we met, I handed her the final payment I owed her. You can retire now. Xiaohui accepted the money and left. The video of the fire had been secretly gathered by Xiaohui at my request. It was irrefutable evidence. Although my sister was gone, the evidence ensured that the truth would not disappear with her. Her name would remain tied to the crime she committed. I returned home. My parents and Wanwan rushed out and wrapped their arms around me. Nuan, it's all over now. Don't dwell on it too much. I tightened my embrace around my family. I felt no grief for the person who had tried to kill me twice. The people I loved were safe standing beside me, and that was all that mattered.